So Gareth, you've been running Jersey Road now for 13 years, and I think I'm right in saying that you recently said to me in a conversation that since the pandemic, you feel there's been a bit of a shift and a change in the appetite that organisations have had towards investing in PR and comms. Could you just explain what that change has been and why do you think that's actually taken place?
Yeah, I think coming through and out of the pandemic, I think there was a lot of uncertainty, obviously. You know, that's a very obvious thing to say, but I think we were uncertain about how organizations were going to view comms. So sometimes there's been history where comms has been seen as a luxury when it comes to marketing. Marketing's often the first budget that gets cut, PR even more so. So I think there was uncertainty about that, but also the nature of PR marketing has changed, and so the kind of concentric circles of PR marketing have continued to overlap. Partly because marketing has become a lot more story driven, and PR is all about stories. So that there's been a lot of overlap there. But what we've seen is that actually a lot of organisations that we're working with in the kind of faith NGO space have really invested into this. I think they've realized that it's a noisy space. There's a lot of voices out there. There's a lot of channels through which you can communicate. And it's even more important now for organizations, A, to be clear about what they want to say, B, to be clear about who they're wanting to say it to, and to really engage authentically with those audiences. And there's a whole load of research out there, which we can never quote to people because it never sounds very objective. But it is right that if you invest in your comms during a financial crisis or during a pandemic or global crisis, then those organizations 10, 15 years down the line are more likely to have not only survived but thrived through that. We've had to do it ourselves as well. We've had to invest in the agency during that time, and it's been scary, to be honest, at times, because, as I say, you're not sure about what the income or the turnover is going to be in 6 months' time, 12 months' time. But our view has been that if we hadn't invested in our systems and in our people and in the service offerings that we provide, then we were going to be stagnant or worse, a dinosaur and extinct. So I think it's been really interesting to see those organizations that have chosen to invest and that actually they're really reaping the benefits now.
So throwing that forward then to 2024, brand new year, what can comms teams, comms professionals be doing, do you think, to really try and stand out at the start of this upcoming year?
I think there's probably three things. One is around insights. So historically, a lot of communication messaging and communication strategy has been based on experience, it's been based on finger in the air, it's been based on best guess. But I think there are so many great tools now for insight. So really understanding who are our audiences, especially because the vast majority of clients that we're working with, they want to engage a new audience of some sort. So that might be they want to engage a younger audience. Younger usually means in the kind of faith charity sector usually means 50 or 60-year-olds rather than 70 or 80-year-olds. But they want to engage a younger audience. They may want to engage different denominational backgrounds. They may want to engage different geographical areas. Doing that, when you're trying to engage audiences outside of your existing audience, having insights to really get to grips with what matters to those audiences, how do we best communicate to them, what channels do they engage with, and how can we best steward our resources to engage with them. It can cost a bit of money and it can delay the outputs, the kind of actually communicating to people. But what it does mean is that there's a far more effective foundation put down, then you can communicate effectively with them.
So if audience insight is so valuable, what do you think some of the reasons are why so few Christian organisations invest in it? Is it money related, as you've just said, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, I think partly because it's seen as an investment that you're not going to see a return on for further down the line. It's maybe a little misunderstood as well, and I think it sometimes when teams are at capacity and they feel like, can we take on another big insights project? But it doesn't have to be a big insights project. It can actually be quite a simple process, and I think having that opportunity to just spend some time understanding who it is and what it is you want to say, as I say, is a really incredible investment. But not only insights. In terms of your question was about where we're heading in the next season, I think the other area is about integration. So quite often, no matter actually the size, sometimes the small organizations are better at this actually than larger organizations, but the fundraising function, the PR function, the marketing function, they're not talking to one another, and there's quite often, not deliberately, necessarily, but there's quite often silos. There's quite often one stream is talking about one thing and the other's talking about another. But to have effective communications, you want your fundraising, your PR, and your marketing to all be talking to one another and to be good stewards of the stories, so that you could all be using the same stories in different ways, but so that the same people are hearing the same stories and the same messaging multiple times. Because it used to be, when I was studying marketing, back in the day, in the 1800s, they said, I think at that point it was 7 impressions you needed in order to go from no knowledge to an engagement decision. Nowadays, I think it's 12, just because of the millions of messages that are out there and trying to kind of cut through. And quite often, organizations have those 12 impressions. It's just that they communicate something different through each of them. So there's not consistency, there's not clarity, and it's maybe even just not compelling. So I think one of the things we're really trying to encourage all of our clients to think about is, how can we help provide some consultancy to integrating those communications so that it's a far more effective output. So you've got the insights, you've got the integration. The third area is influencers, and we are seeing just a lot of growth in this area. Back in the day, it was the traditional media were the powerhouse of a media relations strategy, but actually we're treating influencers as another media stream now. They've often got more followers than some of the audiences that traditional media have. They have more engaged followers because people have chosen to follow them. But it doesn't need to be an expensive thing. There are examples where, like the Hallow app, which is a Catholic prayer app. I've got Nicole Scherzinger and
Liam
Neeson. These are big names. You don't need big names necessarily. You just need the right names. So people who have, maybe they've got 5 to 10,000, 20,000 followers, but their followers are people that you really want to engage with, and we can analyze your followership with a tool that we've got to be able to identify which people are they following, and therefore who should you be engaging with. So I think those 3 areas of insights, integration, and influencers are where I see the next kind of year or two taking us.